boys. We're talking this time about Islam's wrecking ball and the St. George's flag's last stand. Papa's strumming his old six-string while torching a woke pamphlet in a Birmingham alley and cackling at the diversity officer's meltdown. All right, man, it's Papa on the mic for the boys, hacking through the cultural fog like a broadsword through a bureaucrat's red tape. We're diving into the inferno, Islam, and Muslim migration as a wrecking ball to Europe and America's advanced cultures. With England's St. George's Cross flag movement as the dyin shriek of British identity under siege from a predatory Islamic migration assault. Islam's old-school sexual mores, some very criminal in the West, plus its aim to undermine all non-Muslim culture, threaten every gender and class. Even the woke who think Muslims are their pals. Spoiler, they're just the last ones on the menu. Now we're tying the St. George's flag wave, a red and white cry of defiance against the predatory. The predator causing their culture to be slipping away. Y'all are men, not spineless diplomats. So let's grapple this beast. Grab a chair, tune your guitar, and listen as Papa, in his gravelly baritone, think Johnny Cash gargling moonshine after a pub brawl, rips it apart in 5 points. Sarcasm and humor stacked higher than a mullah's turban. Roasting bad ideas with a smirk sharper than a crusader's blade. One. Islam's mores versus Western law, culture clash on steroids. Men, Islam's traditional sexual mores, rooted in the Quran and Hadith, treating women as sex objects and property, crash into Western laws like a tank into a teacup. Sharia's strict dress codes, male guardianship, or punishments like lashing for immodesty look like oppression or straight-up crimes here. Think coercion or assault. Honor killings, though not mainstream, pop up in some communities and are all-out, flat-out murder in London and L.A. Polygamy, cool for some Muslim men, gets you a court date in Birmingham or Boston. At least it used to. Psychologically, these mores push some Muslim immigrants in enclaves where Western law feels like infidel garbage, brewing tension. Philosophically, it's individual liberty versus rigid tradition. And the St. George's flag movement, Operation Raise the Colors, with flags popping up on lampposts across England, is a middle finger to that clash. A scream that British values like free choice ain't negotiable. Gotta love that grit. Maybe the Brits are getting some of the backbone that Tommy Robinson has been displaying for them for these past several years. Hope so. Try telling a British judge, my religion says I can have 3 wives. You'll be in the clink faster than you can say Sharia. Well, that used to be the case. BritGov is coddling the Muslim community so much now that even honor killings may be treated simply as a flesh wound to the system there. Two, usurpation or integration, the St. George's flag as a battle cry. Islam's endgame is to overwrite Western culture. That's what they've told us over the years, at any rate. Believe them, historical caliphates swallowed Persia and Spain among a huge number of Asian and African countries that are so many as to be unnameable. Today, Muslim birth rates, 2.9 kids per woman versus 2.2 for non-Muslims, and immigration, 3.5 million to Europe between 2010 and 2016, spark a demographic jihad, or at least talk of it. In England, neighborhoods like Tower Hamlets, where St. George's flags were torn down by councils, turn into cultural islands with mosques, halal shops, and fewer Union Jacks. The St. George's Cross, waved by groups like the Woolly Warriors in Birmingham, is a defiant roar against this shift. A symbol of English pride some see as the last stand of a culture under assault. Philosophically, Islam's submission-based ethos grates against Britain's live and let live vibe. Linguistically, Arabic terms creep in, while the Red Cross screams, "This is England." Sure, many Muslims integrate, working jobs, voting, loving fish and chips, but enclaves like Molenbeek fuel prophecies of replacement. When your streets got more minarets than pubs, that flag's not just cloth, it's a war cry. Three, no one's safe. Islam's threat hits all, flag or no flag. This ain't just about white dudes waving St. George's crosses. Islam's cultural ripple shakes everyone. Men, women, rich, poor. Women catch it first. Strict modesty rules or guardianship in some Muslim communities feel like chains in feminist Europe or America. Forced veiling or restricted education in extreme cases presses hard on women, as does the attitude that women are little more than property of men and sex objects. Men, Western guys clash with neighbors who frown on bacon. Interesting to note that Muslims officially oppose alcohol, but the most devout of them will put away drinks with the best of them. At least when nobody's watching. I know, I've hung out with a bunch of them. The rich lose their secular playgrounds as prayer rooms sprout in malls. The poor, stuck in tense, mixed neighborhoods like Paris, banlieues, or Birmingham's Woolly Castle, where St. George's flags fly to reclaim identity. Psychologically, Islam's encroachment breeds distrust. Philosophically, it's a faux faith-driven community versus individual rights. Why faux? Because there's nothing good about the Muslim Allah. Nothing even remotely similar to the God of the New Testament. The flag movement, Operation Raise the Colors with thousands of red crosses on lampposts, is a desperate shout that British culture's worth saving, no matter who you are. Even the woke, clutching their coexist stickers, ain't safe. Their progressive dreams don't mesh with chauvinistic Islamic views on gender or speech. Think that flag's just for racists? Nah, it's every Brit feeling the squeeze. The woke's delusion. Allies now, dinner later. The woke crowd hugs Muslims as partners against the system. But it's a snake pit. Islam's toxic masculinity streak on women, sexuality, gender, blasphemy, clashes with their rainbow flags and free speech rants. Leftists defending their hijabs as choice while ignoring women punished for growing or going bareheaded. Philosophically, Islam's divine law stomps on woke relativism. Psychologically, their tolerance blinds them to clashes like Muslim communities' Nixon Pride events. The St. George's Flag movement, backed by groups like Flag Force UK, ain't just about immigration. It's a rejection of the woke's naivety, a cry that the British identity tied to pubs, free thought, the Magna Carta, won't bend to appease. Councils like Labour-run Birmingham, ripping down St. George's flags but leaving Palestinian ones up, prove the double standard, fearing Muslim backlash over safety concerns. Woke folks think Muslims are their squad. Wait till their drag show is called a harem. They're just the last ones on the plate. The flag's last stand. Can the West survive the assault? The West's advanced cultures built on free speech, science, rights, Judeo-Christian mores are in a cage match. Islam's historical spread absorbed cultures via conquest and conversion, and now migration. 45 million Muslims in Europe, up from 24 million in 1980. And birth rates shift the game. In England, the St. George's Cross, once a crusader's banner, is now a symbol of resistance, hoisted in places like York and Whitehall against what some call the Islamic invasion. That's what I call it. Councils tearing them down, citing safety while leaving foreign flags only fuel fire. Talk about two-tier governance. Philosophically, secular pluralism's wobbling against Islam's unified vision. Psychologically, fear of losing Britishness drives folks to paint roundabouts with red crosses. The flag movement's a dying shriek, a plea to hold the line before pubs turn into prayer halls. Integration's the only shot. Teach Western values, no apologies, or the West risks cultural erosion. Want to keep your fish and chips and free speech? Fly that flag, or you'll be praying 5 times a day by the time Big Ben's a minaret. All right, men. Islam's integration wave and old-school mores hit the West like a sledgehammer, threatening every corner of our culture. Women, men, woke, all of them. The St. George's Cross movement, flags on lampposts, roundabouts painted red, is England's last gasp, a scream that British identity ain't dead yet against what some see as a predatory Islamic assault. Words and symbols matter. So wave that flag. Call it what it is, a fight for your way of life, not a diversity picnic. Respect's earned by standing tall, not kneeling to appease. Keep your wit fiercer than a jihadist's scowl. Your respect for your roots sharper than a Sharia blade. And your guitar tuned for the battle. This is For the Boys, and I'm out.